Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Forensic Science with your host, Mr. B. Happy Friday. It is December 18th. It's the last day before winter break, so I'm hoping y'all are excited for that. I'm hoping y'all are excited for that rest and that recovery so we can start off our next semester, our spring semester, so we can start that off strong. So this is also the last day for forensic science, and I just want to say congratulations. Y'all did amazing. Forensic science can be a very challenging subject, especially for our fifth and sixth graders, and y'all did really well. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a little something that you could take later in life, and maybe you might decide you want to be a forensic scientist. You might also decide you do not want to be a forensic scientist. Either of those choices are great. Let's see. I also want, we got some new electives coming up, and I'll be teaching engineering design. So I'm hoping y'all are excited for that because I am. And there's also some really cool electives. We got contemporary art and music theory. So shout out to y'all. Hope y'all enjoy those next semester. Now, our next announcement, if you have any missing grades, please reach out to me. Send me an email to mbermudez@austinachie.org. The deadline to get any missing work is this upcoming Monday, December 21st. I do want to give a shout out though, because a lot of y'all have been emailing me, have been picking up your grades so much, and I'm just proud of y'all. Thank you for getting that in. You don't get, y'all, there's a pandemic going on. You're not getting any points off if you turn in something late. I'm not doing that. And real quick, in case you're like, oh, well, I still want to get some grades up, well, this week's assignment will also replace your two lowest grades. Okay, so try really hard on it, do your best on it, and it's going to replace your two lowest grades. Okay, so let's say you get 100, you get a 100 on this assignment, then it's going to replace, maybe you might have a missing assignment, it'll replace that one. Maybe you have a 70, and that's your next lowest grade, it'll replace that one too. So a quick trigger warning, we are going to be discussing some stages of death. There will be no photos. I'm not putting no photos, so don't worry about seeing anything, but there will be the discussion of death. So please take care of yourself. If you feel like you need to step away from your Chromebook, please do so. Email Miss Callie or Miss Casey if needed at any point. So first off, I did want to start off. So again, estimating the time of death, and figured this vegetable photo would be a good way to start. Right, so it seems like they're testing the pickle's temperature, right? And they're like, well, I don't know if what the time of death is. Seems like he's always been cool. It's always been a cold pickle. So some crimes involve a body, right? It can be, that's just the plain truth. We might be like, okay, maybe we're stealing something, but other crimes might, it could be a murder, it can be an accident, but it involves a body of sorts, a dead body. And so suspects can be eliminated or focus can be put on others. So with evidence, we've talked about this semester, it helps us narrow down our suspect pool. So it helps us basically find, well, is person A guilty? No, we figured this out. So they're not guilty. Person B might be guilty. They're going to be a real suspect we're going to focus on. So what can be used in order to do this? We've covered witness statements or what other people say. We've covered some physical evidence, which is either fingerprints, blood stains, whatever it might be. What we're going to cover today is the time of death and something called rigor mortis. And it's also a Kendrick song. But many deaths are not witnessed. That's just a true fact. There's nobody sees it happen. Some of these manner of deaths include a natural death, right? If somebody passes in their sleep, an accidental death, if somebody falls off a staircase and ends up perishing, a homicidal death, which is basically a murder, or an undetermined death where we're not sure what it might be. Now, defining time of death. This can be very tricky. I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of, you might think, well, yeah, isn't death is pretty easy. You stop breathing, you're done. Like that's it. Well, there's a lot that goes into it. But what we're gonna be breaking it down into 3 different parts. The first one is our estimated time of death. And all that is your best guess. The medical examiner, the person who's helping out the detectives who maybe deals with the dead body that's brought into them, they're trying to determine, well, this person could have died in, they found the body in March. They probably could have died in March or February or January. And so they're just guessing based on what they see in the body. The legal time of death, right? So the legal time of death is when somebody discovers the body, when they find the body, and when it's pronounced dead, right? If they're still alive, that would not be their legal death. This is what you write down on the death certificate. And your physiological time of death, that's when the person actually passed away. So if somebody passed away in August, like actually passed away in August, but their body wasn't found until December, well, our legal time of death is December, but our physiological time of death is August. So here's another example. Let's say a serial killer kills a victim in July, but the body isn't found until October. What is the time of death? Well, first off, we got to give our estimated time of death, right? Somebody found the body in October. The person was murdered in July. People that found that body don't know, right? They're not sure. They're not sure when the death was. They got to do some studying. They got to do some research. They got to do some forensic science and use those skills in order to find it. So their estimated time of death, well, it could have been in October. It could have been in July. It could have been in June, or it could have been in August. So again, the estimated time of death could be July, could be June, or it could be August. They'll have to find out more details in order to figure it out. Our legal time of death, right? The time that the body was found was in October. And our physiological time of death, the time the person was actually died, was in July. And so people might not know that physiological time of death. That might take some time in order to figure out. But in this case, we would know because of the example given. So this is just measuring body temperature. It's something called algor mortis. And our normal temperature, our normal body temperature is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, right? As you're waiting in line to get to school, that would be a normal temperature, but maybe sometimes you're a little colder, maybe sometimes you're a little hotter, and that temperature is going to go up or down. As somebody does pass away, their body loses heat at a rate of 1.5 degrees per hour. So their body starts losing heat, starts getting colder. Eventually, it reaches the ambient temperature. What that is it's the temperature of what's around them, right? If they're in Antarctica, right, and they end up passing away there, well, the body temperature is going to drop way lower than you expect. It's going to be maybe 0 degrees, maybe in the negative degrees Fahrenheit. Now, if they're out in a desert, that temperature might be pretty high. It might even increase depending on how hot it is. But for the most part, it's going to get colder, it's going to lose heat. Okay, rigor mortis. So what is this? It's the stiffening of the body, right? As somebody passes away, there's a point where their arms, their legs becomes very stiff, becomes very rigid, and it's kind of hard for them to move, right? If your elbow's locked in place, it's going to stay that way. And that usually starts 2 hours after death. So again, 2 hours after death, the stiffening of the body of their arms and limbs is going to start. And really, this phenomenon is going to start from the smaller muscle groups, and then it goes to the larger muscle groups. So it starts small, goes to the larger muscle groups, and after 12 hours, the body is at its most rigid state. It also ends when the tissue begins to decompose, right? So after 12 hours, it's at its most rigid state. Then after that, that's when we see decomposition depending on the surroundings. But for the most part, your body begins to decompose. There are some factors that affect rigor mortis. First off, temperature, right? The temperature that the body is around in, it changes it. If it's in a colder temperature, it's going to slow down this phenomenon. It's going to slow down the rigor. So again, think of it as whenever you're outside, right? And you're cold, you're going to shrink. You're going to go closer to your body. That's going to slow. It's kind of like you're getting smaller, you're slowing down, you're trying to get warmer. Well, this is going to cause your body to stiffen slower. As warmer temperature happens, it's actually going to speed up this process. Instead of 12 hours, it might happen in 10 hours, it might happen in 5 hours. And just think about with warmer temperature, you want to go faster, you want to go exercise outside, you want to go do things. It's going to speed up this process. There's also what's happening before the death, what you were doing before death. Again, if you're exercising, if you're running, you're going fast, right? You're trying to play some sports, you're trying to do something fairly fast. Think of this in order to connect it to speeding up the rigor. And if you're sleeping, guess what? You're slowing down, you're winding down, you're going to sleep, you're not doing anything fast, but just sleeping. This is to make that connection that sleeping slows the rigor. All right, y'all. That's it. That's it. That's all we're talking about for death. I just wanted to kind of throw this lesson in there for us to kind of understand that there's a lot that goes into just that forensic scientists use in order to figure out, well, when did someone pass away and how can we figure these things out? Okay, I hope you enjoyed this class. Please do this assignment. Again, this is going to cover up 2 of your lowest grades, and please try your best on this assignment. And I will see y'all next semester, y'all. I will see you around. Enjoy your break. Peace.